Okay.
Hey guys, and welcome to Tnashi's Movie Corner. And for today's movie review, I will be reviewing Wanted, which came out on June 27th of 2008 and stars James McAvoy, Morgan Freeman, Angelina Jolie, Terrence Stamp, Thomas Kretschmann, I probably said that wrong, a guy's name who's so common that is his literal name apparently, as well as Chris Pratt and, of course, a few others. So, getting into this movie, a frustrated office worker, which is James McAvoy, learns that he is the son of a professional assassin. I'm sure we've had that all happen to us at some point. And that he shares his father's superhuman killing abilities. So, yeah. This movie was another movie. I believe it was based off of a graphic novel or a comic of some sort. I know it was based off of something like that. But you had James McAvoy's character Wesley, and he goes through this very crappy job day in and day out, which was quite relatable to, I think, the majority of the population. And, you know, he has kind of these anxiety attacks or whatever, where everything seems to slow down, so he's taking medicine. He has this girlfriend who is, cheating on him with his, I guess, best friend, which was Chris Pratt's character, Barry. And then he runs into Angelina Jolie's character, Fox, and she takes him to this group of assassins, professional assassins, and they tell him about, his history and about how he had a dad, a professional assassin, who was murdered by this guy, and only he can get revenge and everything. And the movie is about him learning how to use these powers, which is essentially bending bullets, curving bullets. So he's learning how to become a professional like the others, and so that he can get revenge for his father's death. Now, do I like this movie? Absolutely. I'm going to be blunt. I really enjoyed this movie. It's, again, not the greatest movie. I acknowledge that. But it is a very fun movie. So, and I actually got the steelbook of it just because it has kind of the comic graphic novel kind of cover to it. And so it looks pretty nice. But this was the first movie where I was introduced to actually a few characters, few people rather. I was introduced to James McAvoy. This is the first movie I saw him in. You probably know him from the X-Men franchise. He plays the young Professor X. And as the main character, as the protagonist, I really liked him because it was like the superhero origin stories that we see so often. But he was, in a way, he was quite relatable as far as kind of all the crap he goes through, and then he decides, screw it, I'm gonna kind of dictate my own destiny here. I'm gonna take the bull by the horns and kind of accept this role and really really prove myself. And that's kind of what he starts doing throughout the movie, and he kind of becomes it's his journey to become the badass that other people, these assassins, think that he can be. Morgan Freeman as Sloane, I think he just had fun with the role. It's not a fully fleshed out role, but I think he had fun with it. Angelina Jolie's character, Fox, I think she did a great job in this movie. I really liked her, and I'm more of a fan of hers than I'm not, so I'm a little partial to her, but I think she did a good job. I think it really worked out, and it was my first introduction to Chris Pratt in the movies as Barry, and he was a really likable character even then. He had quite the charm to him, even if it was a minor role. I think visually this movie was pretty successful. I liked the way that the shots. There were some really good shots. I'm not gonna go into spoilers, but there's definitely some really good shots to it. And this movie's over the top. I mean, yeah, obviously from being able to curve bullets, we kind of know that this movie's gonna be over the top. I know there's something that they took out of the graphic. Well, I'm sorry. There's something that they put into this movie that wasn't in the graphic novel. It had to deal with the whole threat of fate bit. If you've seen the movie, then you know what I'm talking about. If not, you'll have to watch it. But that entire thing was added to this movie, and I do feel like it was unnecessary because we already had the prospect of being able to curve bullets, which was ridiculous enough. But I think the acting was pretty solid throughout this movie. I think the action was actually great. I like the action. For the story, for the most part, there wasn't too much to it, but I really liked what they had, what they showcased. They had some music that I enjoyed as well. There's a few plot point problems, specifically with his dad, that I'm not going to get into. I'm at the point where I don't really mind spoiling too much, especially because this movie's old enough. But for this one, because I think if I were to spoil it, it would just take a little too much out of this kind of movie in a way. I'm gonna be kind of vague on it, but there are a few little plot points that I don't like, and there's a little bit too much over the top absurdity. It starts off at the very beginning, and you would think that obviously what must be what I'm talking about, because how the beginning plays out. First couple minutes, you see just some utter nonsense, but I was actually more on board with that than I was on some things later. So it's kind of a personal take on it. But overall, I enjoyed this movie, and giving it a rating, I'm gonna give it a 6.2 out of 10. It does have some notable plot flaws to it, and I think it has a little bit too much over the top action in a way. And personally, I actually would have preferred a few more characters to be fleshed out, because they did have quite an on-screen presence, but there wasn't really anything to their characters. They were just kind of there to fulfill a role. But I think Angelina Jolie's character, I think James McAvoy's character, I think those, as far as the two leads go, they did a really solid job. So, yeah, that's what I think about it, but what did you think about it? Have you seen this movie? Have you read the graphic novel? I'm quite curious how they compare to each other. I actually played the video game for it, and I thought the video game would be awesome. I mean, come on, you can curve bullets, and it was actually quite a letdown. So, yeah, that's usually, I think that tends to happen for video games that are based upon movies, but yeah, I could be wrong. But yeah, go ahead and let me know in the comments, and until next time, peace.